So today, this was by far the coldest day we've ever spent in the garage. It was in single digits for the whole day. My hands were freezing, but I wanted to get that tail section installed. I had buffed it out and done it on the previous videos, and I really wanted to get some pictures because what's going to happen the next day, it's tentatively going to rain or snow, and I wouldn't be able to get pictures and evaluate it out on the computer. So I really did put the push on today in some really cold weather. I showed all the little tricks for putting that tail section together and getting it back on in one piece. The easy way, there's a hard way and an easy way. This way I think is a little bit easier, and I found that out the first time I took the bike apart. So I hope there's some good information on this, even if you don't have an MT09. Good information to share. Today is really one of the coldest days. It's single digits. I'm freezing out here. The objective is going to be to get in the house, have some coffee and warm up, and do all the things that Karen needs me to do. And then the biggest one today is chop the ice. The ice on the pond is already getting to be a real problem in these single digit days. I don't know. Then once it warms up a little bit, we're going to put the parts back on the MT09, and hopefully if the sun comes out or stays out, we can get some pictures of it. The reason is tomorrow we're getting snow. So it'd be a little difficult pushing this thing around in the snow. I don't like that. So if I can get my pictures, then I can really go on to planning the next part of this project. And every one of these projects is totally different. When I did the FZR, I took the whole bike apart at one time. I'm doing this one step at a time. Having two sets of bodywork for the Suzuki, a really good Evil Twin. And everybody knows how I love Evil Twins. And when I did the 750, I had two sets of bodywork, so I took the best piece from each one. I made like a Mr. Potato Head, but in the end, wound up with a very nice, pleasant, rideable bike. Another thing, when I look back at this project and I see pictures of the bike before I did this restoration where it was basically all flat black, and I'm so worth the time and energy, to me it is anyway, to get rid of all the flat black and have something that's unique. But my collection of bikes, every bike is unique. Everyone's different. They don't ride the same. Some have good this, good that, bad this, bad that. But they are all my children. And my latest newborn, he needs his seat, back pieces put on. And see, there's several other things I want to do before I do the wheels. And I need to see the bike put together in a photo shoot. I've been doing a photo shoot pretty much every time I change something about the bike. And the way it's evolved with the windshield and with the carbon parts, it's just better for me to see it in real life, look at the photos down on my computer, and then I can picture what I want to do next. One of the things I wanted to think about doing, I have some ideas for the front fender. I have some ideas for, well, we haven't finished this yet. I have several renditions, but I haven't decided. Maybe I'm going to let that go to the end of the project. I don't know yet. But the project has been very fluid, and I've changed it a million times, but I think in the end, we're going to be very happy with it. So after I flip the battery chargers, I'm going to go chop the ice and then get inside and get some coffee before I attack this project, putting it back together. Seems like all the things I've liked in my lifetime and all the things I enjoy, there's always some giant amount of maintenance that goes along with it. And this pond is a good example of that. So it looks like the ice is about an inch thick in spots, and luckily our bubbler's keeping a hole in it. We're not losing any fish. We go through this every winter whenever it gets really cold, and right now it's really cold. So here's what we're dealing with this morning. Not even 8 o'clock in the morning, it's 7 degrees. The real feel is 3. Time to go to work. Here's 7 degrees. Look, the birds are sitting out there waiting patiently for their seeds. Brutal out there, Car. Brutal, even for the birds. They're not impressed. But we know Wendy will give us extra seeds today to make up for this cold weather. Oh, oh, oh. Here they come. Doesn't take long. When is our new coffee pot supposed to be here, baby? Wednesday. Looks like a good morning to have extra toast. And this morning I got some pictures from Stephen Walker down in Australia. And Stephen, if I remember right, you were doing the wheels on this and we were conversing back and forth. Looks like you got it done. Now I'm trying to figure out, he's got blue tape on the bottom of the fairing saying he got the angle wrong. I don't know what he's referencing. Yeah, I guess you do if you're referencing the seat. I had the same problem with the FCR. Getting all that stuff aligned is a real problem. And I always appreciate when people send me an email and tell me how much they enjoy the videos. Well, I enjoy making them, or I wouldn't make them, you know. It's not about the money, that's for sure. Now see, I notice things a lot of people don't notice. I'm looking at the front fender and seeing that CBR, the 1100, that little right behind the scoop on the front fender. I was thinking of something I could do very cool with the carbon fiber front fender on the MT09. Haven't really done it yet, but I may get a chance to lay it out today in my mind. Anyway, I'm really impressed. This really came out nice. And Stephen also sent me the poem that the gods see everywhere. Well, Scott did too. You guys must have a lot of education. I don't. The only line I know from the poem is the gods do see everywhere. And I was kind of sad to hear this. He works in a Brisbane hospital, and they're just starting to have the Omicron virus or whatever you call it now. Well, Stephen, I really appreciate sharing the photos. That is one nice bike. That's a beauty. So here's the thing I was thinking of, and I have this picture on my computer, of course. I always tell people that's why I do all these things. I wanted to see how this part of the fender, just this stripe in the front, would look blue, and put this little tooth in the front. And I was thinking about that for a while now. I don't know. What I'm going to do is lay it out in blue tape. If I can get at, the objective here today is get the tail installed in blue. Do a photo shoot and then see how I can lay that out. And if it doesn't look good, if it looks good, I'll send a picture to John Pathia. Let him do an updated version of it with the real Photoshop program. Anyway, it's cold out there. I'm in no rush to get out, but thank you, Stephen, for sharing the photos. I'm not sure you can see this on video, but these really came out just perfect. Now, we're going to be ready to put these on. I hope it warms up out there. I got work to do here in the house on the computer and stuff, but wow. This is going to be one of the parts, if I get a photo shoot today, I think it's going to change the look of the bike. By having more blue on it, the blue is all on the top of the bike will look longer. Who knows what? I don't know. I won't know till I put it back together. I got to put the screens in. Probably have 4 more cups of coffee before I go out there again. But we'll get this done today. It had crossed my mind that maybe I should just wait for a warmer day, but you know what? I really wanted to get this done today. And when I want to get something done, I'm usually very aggressive and willing to pay the price. So the first part of this is going to be to get the screens installed. And boy, when you come down on a really cold morning, the coffee's hot, the parts are buffed, and we got probably less than an hour to get this all put together. And hopefully by then it'll warm up enough I can get some nice pictures. Now putting all these parts back together and then ultimately putting them back on the bike should be relatively straightforward. We've kept all the bolts in the order. We only actually need 1 wrench to put the whole thing back together. So the first thing on here is to get the screen in. Now I often thought one of the things I may want to do in the future is paint this screen silver. I don't know. See, this is an ongoing thing, and when you do it step by step, you kind of get to see a lot of choices. Let's get this back in the way it's supposed to be. But it would be very easy to just pull this out. And let's see, it snaps in, of course. And then you have these little snap washers, I call them. Probably not the right word. Ooh, it snaps right in. How nice. I'm not sure that shouldn't be silver. I don't know. Guess we're going to find out. Somewhere down the road, don't be surprised if one day you look at it and it's silver. Anyway, these come right off. Of course, 5 minutes to take them on and off, so it's not a problem. These little guys just press right on. And then at the end, you can take a needle nose plier and just press them the final amount. And they hold it in place permanently. Again, these just press right in, so. And they do a good job of holding it together, and relatively easy to get it apart. You put a razor under there and just pop them out. Now we also have the little blind nut, and there's two of them go on here. What happened is I forgot the first. Here it goes in the back. I forgot the first one when I took this apart. Now a lot of times, because we've painted this, to be fair, it's a good idea to take the paint off before you press it on. But in this case, we haven't put that much paint on. So they've snapped on. There's still one that goes on here somewhere. That won't be long, and we'll be able to see what this is going to look like when it's actually installed on the bike. Boy, they buffed out beautifully. Now, we've been doing this test on force drying paint on the previous couple of videos, and it looks like we've kind of got it under control, but we'll see in the future. And I've been passing all that information on the videos prior to this. Okay, that worked out great. We're ready to go put these right on the bike, and it's warmed up. It's over 10 degrees now. Maybe it's 11 even. Wanted to see these parts out in the sunlight just in case I missed any spot with the buffing. They look pretty good. Ready to install. Now, I might not have mentioned this before, but I put these aside, these 4 little clips, because what you can do with these parts, you can snap them together. It makes getting these little tangs easier. Where's the other part here? Here's the tangs. It makes it easier if you put these on and snap the 2 parts together before you go put it back. It just makes it easier, so we're going to do that. Now, when you put these parts together, there's a very tricky thing. There's a little tab up here that has to lock in, or else if you force it, you break that little tab. And it's kind of, well, it's kind of like the R1. I guess the same guys that Yamaha uses to design the R1, where a lot of little tabs. It really goes together pretty well. Those little press things, if you leave them off, and I know the first time I took it apart, I forgot to put them back on, the part will have some vibration in it, but getting them on right now, it's a lot easier than putting this on and then trying to fish it in that way and get your finger in there. It's almost impossible. This way works best. Put the 2 pieces together and put this on as a unit. And this is a really good tip. This is just a socket that goes around these little press nuts, press washers, whatever you want to call them. And when you think you got them all in place, this will just sock them up if you press it on. It's a nice little way. When you try to do it with your fingernails, what you wind up doing is, what usually happens to me is you wind up losing a fingernail. Anyway, it is always easier to deal with this. And of course, once you take it apart once or twice or 3 times, you figure that out. So maybe that's one of the good things you can pick up off the video. Let me tell you, without that quartz heater, there's no way you could be working out here today. I can hardly feel my fingertips. Now, because this assembly has a lot of little parts and washers and stuff, very difficult to do it with any kind of gloves on, I decided I'd just pay the price and sacrifice my fingers to the gods here to get this on. Now, this can be just a little tricky because there are tabs on the bottom, and I want to make sure I get that tab on the bottom. There's a tab that locks in there, a tab that locks there. That has to line up before you can get the bolt in. Okay, that's locked in. And I'll make everything just hand tight before and then, because these parts move around a little bit, they're in rubber, and you can adjust them just a little bit, get the fits nice. This one up here, you need the big bolt for that. And I think like all these things that are mounted in rubber, it's just better, and you've got to put the screws in the appropriate place. That's why it's a good idea when I take it apart, I line them up backwards, and those little press pins go back in. But I don't want anything tight because these move around just a little bit. I want to get all the little tabs lined up. It's really not a big deal, but if you break those tabs, it is a big deal. Now, any of the screws that go into a rubber, so that this moves around a little bit, you want to use those screws. The ones that just lock in place, and that's why I said I line them all up on that yellow towel so I know which bolts go in which spot, and then underneath there's 3 of those little press pins. And these little press pins, of course, these are the trick. You have to back this out, press that in place, and then lock that down, press it down, and that locks it in. So we have 3 of those that go underneath, and one bolt on the bottom, and we'll have one side on. And these can be really tricky to get in because you really can't see that well down there. Now luckily most of these things are relatively straightforward because it is so cold out here. I have to be honest. I can't wait to get inside. But I do want to get that photo shoot done now. Everything, the snaps are in. Everything's in place. The fits are nice. Now I can just tighten these up a little more than hand tight. The bolts with the rubber bushings bottom out so you don't have to worry about that. And we basically right now got one side done. Now I'm not sure I'm able to show. See, I have a little, one of these little flashlights from Harbor Freight, but there is a, see if I can show it, one of those snaps, a snap, and this bolt with the big flange that goes in a rubber bushing. So when you put that together as one piece, it just makes it a lot easier. Yeah, and this side is very similar, and once we get one side on, as I always say, the second side goes a lot easier. Okay, and this side is pretty much exactly the same. So I want to make sure these little tabs line up here. Boy, if they don't line up and you're breaking it, what a pain. There we go. It locks it right into those tabs. It's actually pretty neat. It's really nice how they did it, but it can be a little intimidating when you don't have the tab lined up and you force it. Boy, I can picture what the parts on some of the other bikes like the R1. When you go to buy the fairing parts, you better have a second mortgage on your house. That's why we fixed them over the years. Even the stuff of Vlad the Bomoda and some of the real fancy bikes that you can't even buy the parts if you're Jay Leno. You know, you just can't buy them. So, but yeah, that looks nice. That worked out good. I'm just making sure everything is just hand tight here, finger tight. Get those snaps in, but my hands, I can't even feel my fingertips anymore. Man, some of these things really put you to the test. They really do. It's amazing. Whew! Hey, if anybody out there really wants to see a really great thing, there's a thing on, it's actually a movie called Frozen in Time about Daryl Greenemeyer trying to rescue the keybird in Greenland. And the name of the movie is Frozen in Time. Anytime you think you're cold or you're doing some work that you're really like I am right now, I'm freezing. Frozen in Time. Okay, the last thing of the push pins. That's usually pretty straightforward. Let me push the last one of the pins in now. And that takes care of all the hard work. Okay, now the final thing is just to make sure all of these are tight. And we are ready to put the seat back on and hopefully get some nice pictures today for the computer. I like to have everything tight now. All the fits and finishes worked out great here. Didn't break a single tab. Nothing didn't fit. I had to force it. Good. You can't imagine how happy I am that this job is now done. I can get inside and have a cup of coffee. Well, I'm hoping I can get some pictures here, but I gotta have a cup of coffee first. God, is it? Whew. Well, there's no substitute for coffee on a day like today. No substitute at all. And it's time to do a photo shoot, but we gotta have that coffee first. So I can tell already, the look of the bike is exactly what I wanted. That's gonna really work out great. Perfect. And again, the more of the flat black I can get rid of and replace it with blue, I'm happier. You know, having that painted, it shows off. It actually shows this off better, and those scoops, the scoops that are behind the seat there, that kind of all got obscured in the fact when it was flat black. Well, what are you going to do? Anyway, I do want to do a photo shoot, and I really did pay the price being cold out here today. Holy mackerel. But Ray and Frank Straub used to say, and it was funny, I remember it like it was yesterday, If you want something bad enough and you don't have it, it means you don't want it bad enough. Boy, that's words to live by. Let me shoot some pictures. Now, when I got the bike, of course, and it was brand new, and I went through that yesterday, there were a lot of things I knew in the upcoming winter, or maybe the next upcoming winter, I would have an opportunity to do some customizing. Having that tail section blue, to me, is an improvement. Now, I look at every one of the things I've done as, is it better or worse than the stock bike was? And front fender is a good example. Tail section in the back, good example. And maybe those screens need to be silver. I'm not sure. But we're going to be mixing silver paint soon. I'll have that option. The little frame covers, another little detail. Every one of these steps, small detail. Getting the windshield blue instead of black, another small detail. Now, and when you look at it from several different angles, a lot of times you see things. See, I'm out in the driveway and I'm freezing, and but then I take it down by my computer and I can sit here for a half hour and look at different shots, different angles, because to me, a motorcycle is a piece of artwork. It has to look the part. It can't look like a gefilte fish. Now, to some people who don't care about that, some people are fanatical about it. Some people want, the looks mean everything and performance means nothing. But what I want is I want it to perform like an MT09 and look like a custom bike. Look at that tail section. That tail section changed the whole look of the bike, in my opinion. And again, the biggest thing, I'm not a fan of flat black. But every time I've replaced something that's flat black with something that's shiny blue, I come down to my computer and I go like I've scored another touchdown. Now that logo, still working on that logo. I have several ideas for the logo, have not made a decision yet. And I don't know where that's going to wind up, but I know that tail section exceeded my wildest dream. Because from the back like this, now you see those scoops. When it was flat black, you didn't really see them. And so, again, it's that same thing. It's a small, tiny little detail, something that only takes a couple hours to do. You look at it from a lot of different angles. This angle right here, it looks great to me, anyway. And from the side view, it makes the bike look longer. It gives it that rakish look like a sport bike. Any of the high-end sport bikes with the tail end going up in the air. And the main thing is, I wanted it to look like a one-of-a-kind, a windy restoration kind of a thing. But I didn't want to create an uncomfortable bike. I didn't want to make a log for a seat and have handlebars that were uncomfortable and trade away, have a loud muffler that was breaking windows in the neighborhood. And I think I'm closing in on having it. And this last thing with the fender, I want to, before this ends, I want to show that. And it's just an idea. I'm working with a raw idea here. I have no idea where it's going to go. But it got so cold out there today. It actually got colder in the afternoon than it was early in the morning. So after the photo shoot, it was just too cold, and I wanted to lay out what I thought would be a blue stripe that would match the stripe on the tank, but in blue, of course. But it just got too cold. The tape wasn't even sticking. So this will be for a warmer day. We live to fight another day. So as cold as it was, we did get the job done today. Anyway, I had this idea. Actually, the tape wasn't even sticking to the carbon fiber. It was so cold. But I had an idea, and I want to think about it and maybe have John do some concept stuff. Of this part of the fender you do see, and it kind of matches the radiator side. And I thought if I put that diamond cutout up there, I don't know. But because I have a spare fender, instead of being out in the frozen garage, I can lay it out on here, take a look at how I like it, if I like it. But my original plan was, and this is why this whole thing has evolved, I wanted to make this fender blue. And then I'd have the choice of, when I want to evil twin it out, I'd have some choices to go back and forth with. Anyway, but it's apparent to me now that I've seen the parts on the bike, and it's a significant thing. That tail section, when it was flat, I never even noticed those scoops on the side or that little screen. Now it stands out. Now when you stand behind the bike at various angles, and I probably took more pictures than I needed, but to look at it carefully, now that part looks like it belongs there. And now that part, from the tail section to the tank, being blue with the windshield, the whole bike has changed from the bike that I bought, and I had that on yesterday's video, the day I bought it, and thank you, Luciano. But when I think of when I picked up the bike and I said, because that was really in my mind that I'm going to paint it anyway, so what's the difference? But I didn't want to have that flat black version and for a year be riding around in flat black. Now, when I see how this looked with the blue, and every time I get rid of some of this what is flat paint and make it shiny blue, to me the bike is more attractive. But you know, it's just me. That's it. So, and if you like flat black, yeah, that's fine too, and we could park the bike side by side and harass each other and whatever, go have a cup of coffee. But I personally, it's my personal choice, I do like shiny paint, and I love that color blue, that Yamaha purpley blue. I've loved that all the while I've been involved in motorcycling. Even back in the day when they first started painting the bikes, that color. I love that color. It's a very special color. Anyway, we tried to share some good information on this video and how we go about doing these little concepts. Doing a custom, unique bike that you've never done before, it's not as easy as it sounds. And a lot of times, if you miss one part of the puzzle, boy, if you make the seat out of a 50-gallon drum or something crazy, and people take perfectly good bikes and destroy them trying to make them custom. I hope I haven't done that to the MT09. When this project is done, I hope you like it too. And this is just one example what I can do, and I have all these photos on my computer. Here on the before, when it was gray, that side panel, the back was flat black. To me, ugly. Now, to the way I have it now, I think it's a giant improvement. Very, very effective having that blue. And again, what all these photos allow me to do is go down on my computer and lay these things out side by side, see which one I like better, always get Karen's opinion. And if I'm in doubt and we have a disagreement, I always go with what Karen says looks better. She thinks the blue tail section is just the way to go, and I agree. And the most difficult part of the whole project so far has been finalizing the front end of the bike, which when you buy the bike, and of course it's a super low-end bike with no bells and whistles here, I needed to finish that front end so it looked like a finished motorcycle. And the windshield I got from China, which I have 2 of now, I think it really did the job. Well, it has been a really long day, and I plan on sitting at the computer tonight and looking at some of the rides we've had, some of the old memories of the A-Team. Oh my God, so many good things. To have YouTube available. Just imagine a world if there was no YouTube and you had to watch, I don't even watch. I bet it's been 20 years since I've watched something that you have to watch commercials on. Anyway, I do enjoy making these videos. I do enjoy sharing the information that I've been lucky to accumulate over my lifetime. Hopefully, a person my age, and I'm 76, I've learned a lot over the years, and maybe I've been able to share a lot. That's, of course, up to you. But this project, the MT09, has taken on a life of its own this winter. I have spent endless hours looking at that computer, comparing this to that, thinking what little detail could I do next. And it's a very difficult thing to do. The MT09 is a unique motorcycle. It doesn't have a lot of what I call bells and whistles and fancy features, and they give you a bare bones motorcycle. It's like buying a 55 Chevy with roll-up windows and a stick shift, and you've got to do it. And the parts, most of the parts that I saw available, especially the windshields, I wasn't crazy about. But I'm closing in on having what my vision was at the time. I try to post something up every day. I hope you enjoy watching it. And of course, I hope more than anything that we're going to see you tomorrow.